Hello, everyone. This is the Crimson Cure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
We're A-Game, a 100% Black-owned company with an all-natural product and world-class customer service. We're headquartered in California, and we manufacture, package, and ship right here in the United States. We ship to more than 125 distributors worldwide. Normal processing is 2 to 3 days, and we employ virtual tracking until our product is received. So, no matter where you are in the world, here we come, and we're bringing your A-game.
Hey, Crimsonites. Hey, my wonderful ladies. Need you to come on in because we're going to have a little ladies talk today. Sometimes I got to straighten up the stuff in the back. Hey, C. Hey, Soul. Hey, Alonzo. Hey, D. Remedy. How's everybody feeling today? On this fine Thursday, we're going to have a little chit chat. But before we have a chit chat, I want to speak to something. There are some little birdies that are flying around in this manosphere space that I hear are trying to tear down or expose or in other words, badmouth Kevin Samuels. Yes, I'm saying his name today, and I'm saying it for a reason. Kevin Samuels and I, as content creators, don't necessarily see eye to eye. Okay. I have talked about some of his positioning, particularly as it concerns the high value man, that sort of thing. However, that should not suggest that I think that it is okay to try to expose that man's personal life or in any other way ruin his image or any of that. I do not agree with any of that. And I can disagree with someone's talking points all day. And when you are a public figure, when you are a YouTube personality, you open yourself to other people's critique, other people's ideas and opinions of what you are saying. And that's fair game. But what is never fair game, and I'm talking to the women today, because it is the women who are trying to form up like Voltron to try to take this man down, all because you don't like his message to women. And whether you agree with the nuances or the finer talking points or not, he actually has been giving advice that some women have been able to take and use to their benefit. And so this is why a lot of times, and I hate to really say it, that black women lose because you allow your bitterness and your envy and your jealousy and your unwillingness to make significant changes in order to get the life that you want to have, and you will tear down and throw someone under the bus because you don't like them, because you don't agree with them. It's a very nasty thing to do. If you disagree with the talking points, say you disagree with the talking points. Refute it, challenge it, whatever. But it is a very nasty, chaotic thing to do. Giving over to your chaos as a female, as an uncontrolled female. Because women do not waste this type of time or energy trying to make sure that someone isn't somewhere saying something they don't like, when all that you have to do with your little nosy self is not listen to Kevin Samuels. I don't care if he does go viral on Facebook. But you're so nosy that you can't help but click the video and then get triggered by it. Because that man's personal business is not any of your business. And so even though myself and Kevin Samuels, we don't cross each other's paths, I still stand in support of his freedom to do whatever he wants to do on that platform, as long as he is not hurting anybody. Now, that was my little PSA about that, about some of the behavior of the women or the females that I'm seeing in this space. Not happy. It's not ladylike. It's not feminine. It's not cute. It's nasty. And it shows me how bitter you are. What it also makes me do is focus more on you. Because my channel was originally designed to sort of filter out certain women and talk to them. But sometimes I speak in a very general sense. That changes today. From here going forward, I'll be talking to you. Some of you are going to thoroughly enjoy that. Some of you ladies, maybe not so much. It's going to be with a little different flavor. Because when I first came here, I was steamrolling people. When I first came here, this is what I was doing to people. I was doing that on a regular basis. And I did it for a reason. Now I'm doing this for a reason. That has its place catching a hyena. But what also has its place is talking to you, not at you. Because we need help. As a group of women, we need help. This cancel culture, woke culture, time out. Time out. We're not doing that. Cancel anybody that says anything that speaks to the heart of what's going on with you, that speaks to the core of the pathology. We're not canceling stuff like that. We're going to let that keep going. Because, ladies, we have to heal before we build. We have to heal. And you can't reject the medicine all the time. Unless it's packaged in a pretty little bow. And, we promise it tastes like cherry and all of that. No. So that's my little PSA about that. Before we get really on into the topic, I got to show y'all something. Y'all want to see something? Press 1 in the chat if y'all want to see something. Because I have this really cool idea and I just want to show it off a little bit. If I can get some ones, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I wanted to show you yesterday, but I didn't prepare. And I don't like to get up in the middle of the show. I think that's tacky. This is what I want to show you. This is a bar of soap, and there is a whole loaf over there that has been cut. Of course, it's all handmade. The scent is white tea and ginger, and this loaf is going to go to a best friend of mine. She's not even really my friend. She's my sister. I've been knowing that woman since 1998. We met each other and just hit it off. It smells awesome. It'll be ready in a month. And I'm showing you that for a reason. But I'm sending it to her because this woman is my sister. And we've even spent years without contact. And a woman is your sister when you can go 2-3 years and lost the number and somebody give you the number and you call her and y'all talk like y'all talked yesterday. You got a friend. And I can count on one hand and have fingers left over how many of those I actually have, because I don't use the word friend loosely. And the reason why I'm showing you guys the soap is because I want to restructure either my Patreon, which I probably will do because I have more of an idea about how I want to structure the tiers of Patreon. And I want to make one of those tiers like a soap subscription. So like you get a bar of soap every month, random sent to you. Because ladies, I'm promoting A game. But only men can take A game, right? Now, we love our brothers and we buy A game to help support their health and support them. And if we're buying it for our significant other, we get perks too from that. Wink, wink. But ladies, I think we need something too. So I was thinking that we would enjoy something like that just to reward you guys for supporting me and just being here. And so that I can give something back to the ladies that support me, because it really, really, really means a lot to me. And I want to give you more than just the general content. I want to be able to give you something in your hands too that you enjoy. So I might get together like a little set or something like that. I'll think of it. You know, Gemini smart. I can think of some creative stuff. So we're going to have something like that. So that's my PSA stuff. Hey Rise Up, hey Fitness, hey Father's Time. So we're actually going to get into the show today because I spent like 20 minutes doing PSA stuff. So in any case, today's topic, why women submit, because there's always a lot of talk about women's submission and men demanding it and women saying no and, you know, having different criteria. And, you know, I come to realize that it's not only some of the guys that don't understand why women submit or what they submit to, but there are a lot of ladies that don't understand why you submit and what you are submitting to in within the confines of a marriage or committed relationship. So today, ladies, we are going to actually talk about what you are submitting to, because there's arguments about, well, he's got to pay 100% of the bills, and, you know, or he's got to do this and he's got to do that. And sometimes there are these different arbitrary standards, but I need for women to understand it. I need for women to understand it, because a lot of times we reject the concept of being submissive because we don't understand where the submission comes from or what it is directed towards. So the first thing, and I always have notes. Well, not always. I kind of always have notes. Sort of. Sometimes, always. If sometimes is always, then I always have notes. But anyway, the first point that I want to talk about is us as Black women, particularly, being afraid to submit because we don't understand that concept in full. We only understand what pop culture says submission is. And a lot of times when we see movies or we hear it or we watch shows or anything like that, and shout out to Valdez, who was talking about the color purple the other day. When we see things like that, like my generation watched that. And then there are newer generations that maybe watch other TV shows that portray women in submissive roles sometimes, but that submission is always paired with some sort of abusive situation, some sort of situation where they are being oppressed or subjugated. The man that they are submitting to is actually forcing them out of it, forcing that out of them. And so we come to associate, and this is something that I've written in my book, which I'm almost done with. Oh, Lord, I am almost done with that book. But anyways, this is something that I address in the book, is associating submission with abuse. Okay? And that scares us as women because we don't want to be abused, and no one does, right? No one wants to be in any situation where they feel like they're being subjugated or held down or any of those things, right? Because if we're in a relationship, we want the freedom of being in a relationship. A relationship for women, a healthy relationship for a woman is supposed to offer her some freedom and some latitude. I'm so sorry. Every time I'm here, like when the thing blows, like my nose itches. So please excuse me. But in any case, moving right along, we're not going to pay attention to that. We we associate the submission with abuse. What I want to do when I talk about submission to my sisters, I want to divorce those two concepts, because true submission doesn't have anything to do with abuse. Okay? True, honest to goodness submission has absolutely nothing to do with being in any sort of abusive situation. And I would never, ever, ever encourage any woman to enter into or remain within any sort of relationship where they are being physically or verbally or emotionally abused in any way. Because I want for my sister what I want for myself, and I would never want to be in a relationship like that. And so I would never encourage any woman to be in a relationship like that. So I got that out of the way. So we have a fear of submitting, and one of the reasons why we fear it is not only the association of submission with abuses, but we also fear the unknown. We are afraid, ladies, to basically sort of put our lives in the hand of a man that has entered into our lives, and sometimes we don't know what he's got going on or what his intentions are. Sometimes we're not very clear on it. And so women really do have fear of the unknown, because it gives us a sense of insecurity, and we don't like insecurities. We don't like shaky ground. We don't like when situations are just not clear and we just don't have really any idea of what's about to happen to us. So a lot of times we get really, really reserved and we get really defensive. And for Black women, myself included, we will enter into more of our masculine energy as a form of protecting ourselves from getting damaged from things that we don't understand or things that we don't know. So this kind of leads me to point number 2, which you'll hear a lot of Black women say, well, you don't give us anything to submit to. When they hear Black men say, well, we want submission, Black women will say, well, you don't give us anything to submit to. Now, sometimes that is said as a barb to the men. We say that to barb them, to sort of poke at them. Okay, we'll say that to poke at them. Admittedly, there are women who will say that simply to poke. Okay, they have no other purpose of saying it other than to provoke the men and make them angry, or try to denigrate them by saying, oh, you don't have anything to submit to, which translates, in other words, you're not good enough for me to submit to. Okay, but for the women who sort of feel like that, but they're not trying to make a dig, here's what that really means. Which leads me to point number 3. When a man, not the collective of Black men, but an individual man that has entered into your life and wants to be your man, he wants to be your husband, he wants to be your committed significant other, he must have SOS. Okay? SOS. System, order, and structure. Okay? And the SOS is the heart of this matter today. Because the SOS is really what women are submitting to. And I need the ladies to understand that is what you submit to. The system, the order, and the structure that a man presents to you. See, this is why even some submissive women who are in relationships that don't have a clear and concise system, order, and structure are having a hard time engaging in submission, because she's unclear what she's submitting to. Even though she has feelings for that man, she may love that man, she may really, really, really want to be in a relationship with him, and just kind of don't understand why it's not working out. That's what's missing sometimes. He either doesn't have or isn't properly conveying his system, order, and structure that he wants you to submit to. Okay? And a long time ago, I told women that if a man is talking to you in the strain of wanting to be in a relationship with you, and he wants to have all of these things with you, he wants to make a life with you, if he isn't talking about a system, order, or structure, and at the time that I said it, I said if he doesn't present a construct to you, which this is the same idea, right? Then he's wasting your time. Okay? A man that refuses to present that to you doesn't really want a relationship with you. He might want friends with beanies, but that's about it. Relationships, real ones, marriages, these come with a system, an order, and a structure. And the way that he gets this is through having his life in order via the 10 life values. Even if he doesn't have that terminology, he actually should have the idea, okay? And all of that. So a woman has something to buy into in the relationship, okay? This is why things like 50-50 don't work. Okay? 50-50 doesn't work. Because sometimes it's some men's way, not all men, but sometimes it's some men's way to try to get women to invest in a relationship. But the true investment for women in a relationship isn't financial. Because we don't really get any more leverage for paying half the bills than we do when we don't pay any of them, or if we pay all of them. Because the equity in a relationship from the woman's side is not built through finances. It is built through her investment of her time, her energy, her spirit, her mental energy, her femininity, her everything into the system, the order, and the structure that the man presents to her. If she buys into that, she will be loyal to it. Just like she buys into the system and the order and the structure at her job or at her career. Okay? This is why women submit to a job rather than her man, because the job inherently has system, order, and structure because it is a business. Okay? So she's entering that business as an employee. All right? And employees don't pay 50-50 for that business. They are getting paid by the owners of the business for performing certain duties and investing in the system, order, and structure of that business. Thank you so much, Back to Basics. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And so, this is why you submit at work, but when you get home, you have a problem with it. So for those of you who are already in relationships and you're finding trouble with submitting to your man at home, these are probably the conversations that you need to have with your husband or your significant other to tack down what is his system, order, and structure so that you can buy into that. And this is really a conversation that should have been had in the beginning, before you live together, before all of these other things happen, children, all of these things. These are conversations that should happen at the start, But sometimes, we got to try to backtrack and we got to try to figure out how to fix things. And sometimes our relationships are salvageable if we have honest conversations with our husbands. So we definitely need to have these conversations with them to ask straight out, what is the order here? What is the system? What is the code by which he is living? Where is the purpose and the principles and the code that he is living by that you must also live by? Because the thing about it is, this is how women invest in relationships, right, ladies? This is how we invest. We invest with our minds and we invest with our hearts, because when a man has that system and his order and his structure, when he has that SOS in place before we get there, this is what attracts us to him and makes us work to be in a relationship with him, because he has a requirement, okay? He has a standard. The system and order and structure is what helps provide his standard and his requirement for the woman that is going to be his woman, that is going to be in his life, okay? And when we find a man whose system, order, and structure align with our principles and all of these things, we want to buy in. We want to buy in, right? We want to invest in those concepts. We want to invest in his purpose and his vision. Okay, we want to. And that actually is our sweat equity in the relationship. That is how we invest in the relationship. Okay. And that's why we invest in a relationship. So when women are asking, why would I submit? Why would I submit? You wouldn't if the SOS is not present. You would not submit. And when I say that you wouldn't submit, I don't mean going to the other extreme, ladies, and being belligerent with him. Simply, all that it takes is, if this is a conversation that is being had at the beginning of a relationship, the start of a relationship, and you can't see yourself buying into his vision, you can't see how you can benefit him, or it just doesn't align with anything that you have as a principle, because it is important, ladies, for us to have principles. We can't just wait on men to have principles for us. We need to have them for ourselves, but that might be another conversation. In any case, we need to have principles for ourselves and a standard that we live by. And if that's just completely off kilter, completely off balance, and you can't see yourself buying into his vision, that doesn't mean to start acting crazy with him. That simply means that you are unable to continue or move forward in a relationship with him, and you gracefully bow out. Okay? So you just gracefully bow out. You just, and if he asks, just be honest, like, you're a great guy, however you got to put it, and I really like these qualities about you, but I just don't see how a relationship is going to work, because we're just at two ends of the spectrum, a little too far. So, however you got to put that, be soft, be vulnerable, be feminine, but be firm in your resolve. No matter how good he looks, even if he's real sexy, you got to be firm in your resolve, right? Because sometimes we're not firm if he's firm. We're not firm. So you have to be firm in your resolve, okay, when you can't see yourself engaging with him that way. So that's all that it takes. However, getting back to the point, that's what you're submitting to. It's not just about, oh, I'm turned on, or I'm physically attracted, I'm sexually attracted, or he has certain redeeming qualities. If he doesn't have the system and order and the structure, Submission is going to be hard to come by, even for a woman that is a submissive type of woman. It's going to be hard to come by. I've run into guys who have come on to me and I'm like, okay, what's your system? What's your vision? What are we doing? Why, in other words, why do you want me in your life? What do you want me to do for you? How do you want me to benefit you? In what way? Like, I need to know. Because I need to know if I'm capable of it or if that aligns with me. And there have been times where men state their business, like he states his purpose, and it's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And it's not to say that his standard is wrong or that he needs to change it for me. It's just that it's not compatible. I can't share that vision. My principles don't allow it, and I'm sorry, I can't share that vision. Hopefully you find a woman who will be more than able and ready and willing to share that vision with you. So it's okay if you can't abide by the standard that a particular man presents. But there will be a standard that some man presents that will be acceptable. And so we have to still be in the mindset of being prepared to be submissive to that. If you run into a man who has SOS and you agree with it, then there's no reason for you to be recalcitrant about it. Because if he has system, order, and structure, then this allows you to understand what type of leader he is. And it'll make for a good leader most of the time because good leaders have systems. And they have a system that they're living their life by, and it's efficient. It works for them. He's not living on a failed system. He's living on a successful system. It works for him. You see what I'm saying? It's like a person who owns a business, but their businesses always fail. I mean, can they give you a tip or two about what made their business fail? Yeah, but at some point, after like 10 failures, the 11th one should be a success because you should have been learning from the previous failures, right? So if he isn't living, if he's living in chaos, then he's not going to be able to bring order to you because he isn't bringing order to himself. So it doesn't pay for us ladies to enter into relationships with men who have chaotic lives and think that we're going to be covered by him in an orderly way because he's not bringing order to his own life. He has not implemented a system. There are parts of those 10 life values that he has not secured for himself. And likely they are part of the internal 5. And more pointedly, they are probably his spiritual value because the root of order or the root of chaos is either your spiritual value intact or your spiritual value not intact. Right? Which is the same for us, right? When our spiritual value is intact, we actually can operate in order rather than chaos. I'm actually going to do a show about the single uncovered woman and how to still remain in your feminine energy because you need an SOS even when there's no direct man around. But that's rooted in your spiritual value. That's also a separate conversation. Okay. So that's pretty much the message that I wanted to give my sisters today, why we are submitting. We need to be clear, ladies. We need to be clear why we're entering into relationships. We can't just be trauma bonding with these men. We can't just be sexually bonding with them. We can't just be hot in the pants, right? He gets our juices flowing, so there we go. Like, we need to have more discipline than that. If we're going to call ourselves women and we're going to call ourselves lionesses, and we're going to differentiate ourselves from the hyenas out there, from all of the women who are running around like chickens with their heads cut off, then we need to implement the 10 life values for ourselves. We need to be able to secure our spiritual value, because that is what gives us the principles and the code that we need to live by. We need to see to our health. We need to see to our mental health, our emotional health, our physical health. This is why I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm ready to share that with you. We need to focus on our family value. What's going on in our families? Our nuclear families and our extended families. What kind of relationships are we having with our husband, with our children, with our friends, with our moms, with our sisters and brothers? Like, what are we doing? We have to live on purpose, ladies. We can't live by accident. We have to live on purpose. We have to live with some intention. We have to take a look at our appearance value and really reevaluate that. How are we looking out here in these streets? Are we pleased with it? Are we pleased with the woman that is looking back at us in the mirror? Are we happy with her? And if not, the only way to become happy with her is to be a better woman. That's the only way to do it. And we can't cut corners. Like, we got to do the work. We have to do the work. We have to focus on our dwelling value. What's going on in our homes? A lot of us ladies living in dance studios. We don't even have furniture. How are you supposed to relax? How are you supposed to recharge? How are you supposed to rejuvenate? How are you supposed to beautify the space to make you feel good? How are we running the nest? Are we running it or running it in the ground? That's a video. Hold on. Are we running our nest? Yes, I am brainstorming on this live stream. Or running it in the ground. Because I get up from here and completely forget what I said. So, how are we running our dwellings? Or are we running it in the ground? What are we doing? We have to live on purpose, ladies. Live with some intention. Date with intention. Don't just let these men run through you, sis. You can't let that happen. You cannot let that happen. This is how you break your vessel, babies. This is how you break it. You let other people come in and break your vessel for you. Every dude take a hit on your vessel. It's going to break. We sturdy, but we break. Black women especially, we some sturdy women, but we break. And a lot of us are already broken. But this is how we're gonna heal. We have to live on purpose. We have to implement the 10 life value structure and all of that kind of stuff. It's not only for men. We can't just wake up every day and don't know what we're doing. Don't know what's going to happen. Life just happened to us and we just go with the flow, and then we just don't, and then we just victims, and we can't do that. We can't afford to do that. Women have never been able to afford to do that. We've never been able to afford that. Okay. So I think I might have rambled long enough. Y'all think I rambled long enough? I think I might have rambled long enough. So what I'm going to do right now is I am going to bid all of my ladies a fond farewell until next stream, and we're gonna get some things together. So we gonna get this soap thing together for y'all. I got some things lined up that I'm thinking about. How can I treat my ladies? How can I give you guys something as well? And here's what we're going to do. Today's show was sponsored by A Game, which is a male herbal solution. So what I would like the ladies to do, because we all have some men in our lives that we love and that we cherish and we care for. So what we need to do is go into the description box and click the link for A Game, all right? And you can get a 10% discount by using the code Kendra10. That is Kendra, Kendra, the number 10. All right. And I promise you that the men in your life will thank you. They won't know how to stop thanking you. Definitely. All right. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for coming through, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor, who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.